So we've seen Frankie's what's in the bag, we've seen mid-handicap Dave's what's in the bag. I've had a lot of comments asking what am I currently using, especially to beat James Robinson most weeks. First up is going to be driver. Let's get on the tee, let's talk about what I'm currently using and why it's helping me hit longer, straighter drives. So guys, you can clearly see I've been using a Paradigm, but the Paradigm I have been using is the Triple Diamond 9-degree Paradigm. So I was fitted for this, I have tested this out, I have tested all the Paradigms, I've tested all of those with mid-handicap Dave, but very interesting guys, this was the one that best performed for me. So reasons why: first of all, biggest thing in the room, which we'll get to when we talk numbers, is spin. I have a big issue with spin. I normally get too much spin off most drivers, and that's where it has been key for me finding something that reduces that spin. So I actually optimize the shots. I optimize the distance. I'm not losing distance for no apparent reason. Hitting it in the middle and not getting your optimum distance, there is nothing more frustrating, and that's why I changed to this driver. Again, another reason I changed to this driver is because of the smaller profile head. It's a little bit sleeker than the other two Paradigms. It also looks behind the ball a little bit better to me than the TaylorMade Stealth 2 did. That's always sat a little bit close to me. The Ping G430, although a fantastic performing driver, looked a little bit too big. And then one big thing that this gave me confidence with is when I hit this, we go through a set of, can you hit every shot with it? So yes, my normal shot shape is a little fade, but if I wanted to draw it, can I? And if I'm not feeling confident, can I get one that is just down the middle? A little bit of a chippy one, a little bit of a control one. Can I control that and still get reasonable distance? But I've certainly found that I can get the ball moving both ways. Like this one here will be my normal shape. I should start to see a little soft fade, which that is nicely done, and that will be in position A on this 9th hole. But then I need sometimes to hit that draw. If I'm downwind, if I've got to move it, instead of me thinking like, oh, I've got to change my club, I've got to go down, I've got to play safe, I'm costing myself shots. We want a driver that is workable, and certainly this Paradigm is exactly that. So I can now aim a little bit further right. I can start to think, right, I'm trying to get this club, well, I'm trying to get this shot drawing a little bit. I can then put a normal swing on this, and I can get that drawing the opposite way, and those two should be next to each other. With the driver, like everyone, I want to have control of what this club face is doing. We can see the stripe patterns there, ever so, well, one in the centre, a little bit low, and one towards the toe. But the biggest thing for spin was getting the correct shaft. So although I do swing it quite fast, over 110 miles an hour, I have only got a stiff shaft. This for me is at 60 grams, reasonably light, not too light. It is the hazardous shaft, and for me the shaft is the biggest thing in a fitting that you need to spend time on, making sure that you've got a shaft that is reliable, can get you to play the different shots, doesn't feel like it's too stiff so you've got to go at it, but also doesn't feel like it's too light that it's a little bit whippy in your hands. Yes, then you need to decide on the loft, but if you get the shaft correct, the loft will take care of itself. You'll be able to get your optimum window, you'll be able to get your optimum loft, to get you launching it right with less spin and hitting it down the middle. Let's get to the numbers now. Let me show you exactly what I mean before we talk fairway woods. So if we talk driver, you can see on the screen there, just under 110 miles an hour. So 109 miles an hour clubhead speed, 162 ball speed, but spin rate there is massive. So under 2,000, nice and penetrating for me, making sure I get that distance out there. There was a couple of drives off the toe which will have taken that under, so normally as a rule that's probably around about 2.4, which is right in the window. Before with drivers I was certainly struggling and getting well over 3,000, but 260 yards carried, 294 total. And the dispersion, again, front to back is fantastic, but also in the fairway. Realistically, we're looking at 20 yards to the left, 20 yards to the right, which is going to be right or left side of the fairway, 3 straight down the middle, so very consistent, and that's exactly why I've chose this driver. But now fairway woods. So this is where I have changed in my bag. So Stealth 2 Plus is the club of choice. So a recent change here, I've gone for a 5 wood, so I've not gone for a 3 wood, and I've also taken out my 7 wood. So very interesting. I've had the 7 wood, as you'll know, a G10, which is probably at least 15 years old. Comment below if you know exactly when it was out. Was it 2010? I'm not too sure. But this club has filled a gap in my bag, and that's the reason why it's gone in and replaced the 7 wood. So I can get this out to around about 250 yards. So that's an area in the bag that I didn't have. So a 4-iron wouldn't get there. 7 wood would launch a little bit too high, and that was more of a 220 to 230 club. So this is ticking boxes, but even off a long par 4, I'm comfortable that I could get one a little bit flighted down and get it out there maybe a little bit past 250, which then is something that if it's a tight hole I'm comfortable with. And you'll see in the numbers shortly how accurate it is off the tee, and if I try and play a shorter one.
That's unreal.
And that's a nice ball flight down there. James is on the camera work. That has actually gone past the bunker, which I know is around about 250 carry, so a little bit downwind here by all means, but that has gone a long way. Launched nice and low, a penetrating ball flight, good off the tee, but I also use it for shorter shots. If I'm wanting to knock it down a little bit, if I'm wanting to play a chippy one, it's also a shot that I can play with this club, which we're going to do now.
Talk to me about the weight.
So the weight on the bottom here has been moved forward, so this is going to reduce spin. It's going to also get you to launch it a little bit lower. We can move this back, so I could get this moved back and get that flight a little bit higher. So if you're somebody who wants to see a higher ball flight, or you have a low ball flight, there's a lot of versatility. It's very adjustable, and that's a great point that James has made me say there. But I've got it forwards to get less spin, but we can still hit shots that are a little bit shorter. I can take distance off with this, which you'll see from the numbers. If we go to those first, then we'll play one into the green. So first up with the fairway wood, we can see I hit 3 shots at a normal swing, so 8 out of 10 full shots, and we can see that that was at nearly 105 miles an hour, so not much slower than the driver. 4,600 spin, carrying 234 on average and going out to 246, so very close to a total of that number of 250. We can see nice and consistent ball flights. We can see consistently just down the left hand side of the fairway, but very much under control. If we now move on to the 2 shots that I did hit with more of the 7 wood feel, so feeling like I'm down the grip on there, seeing if I can control one in, we can see it drop straight down to 91 miles an hour. Spin drops a little bit to 3,000, but 198 yards carry, and going to around about 220. So nice and versatile. I can take a little bit of speed out of that. I can get it to go a little bit shorter when I need to. But let's show you that now out on the golf course. So this is a prime example where I would probably have chosen my 7 wood. And again, we can loft this up to just under 21 degrees, so we could play it as a 7 wood. We could then move the weight back to get it launching high. So plenty of options. I could also knock it down to a 4 wood, so somebody might say, well, you could have a 7 wood and a 4 wood. Yes, if you've got room at that end of your bag, that's definitely something I would consider, because that's what I used to have when I was a junior. But here I feel like I can just grip down this club a little bit, treat it as a 7 wood, play this a little bit easier, and I can take some, James is laughing, but I can take some out of that, and you'll see there, nice and easy, that's just ran through the back, but nice and easy. I've gripped down that, I've still launched it exactly where I want to, I can still be aggressive. But guys, that is the top end of my golf bag for this week. That is the driver, that is a Paradigm Triple Diamond, and this is becoming the best club in my golf bag.